What does the research say about various relationship issues? Let's start with sexuality. This concept is difficult to study systematically. One of the first large-scale surveys of human sexuality was conducted by Alfred Kinsey and his colleagues in the 1940s. Even then, the most obvious concern with studying topic is related to privacy. We do not normally ask participants to disclose such intimate details about their personal lives. When we do, we must be extra careful about how we document and store that information and how we respond in real time. Another concern then is with the accuracy of self-report measures of sexuality. Social desirability responding is more prevalent when measuring sensitive topics like this one. Yet another concern is in the interpretation of survey questions. People vary greatly in the words they use to describe the human body and sexual acts. In addition, more so than other psychological constructs, researchers tend to find gender differences in self-report surveys. Some evidence suggests that men tend to view the world in more sexualized terms, which skews their responses and leads them to respond in ways they think they should respond. Social psychologists also study sexual orientation, or an individual's preference for sexual partners. Modern researchers recognize a wide range of categories, only some of which are included here on this scale. Approximately 3 to 4% of men and 2% of women are exclusively homosexual in orientation. Both biological and environmental theories are used to explain the origins of homosexuality, including studies of brain autopsies and twin studies. When it comes to attraction, the process is similar across sexual orientations. Marital satisfaction is of interest to social psychologists as well. While it's difficult to fit marriages into a single mold, there are a few patterns worth mentioning. First, ratings of marital satisfaction tend to decline over the course of the marriage. The honeymoon stage tends to last between 6 months and 2 years, while the 7-year itch that's frequently mentioned in our culture tends to happen a bit later in the marriage, after the 8th year. Second, there are 2 variables that appear to have predictive value when it comes to marital dissatisfaction. It's more likely when there was a steep initial decline in satisfaction, or when one or more couples reports high levels of boredom in a relationship. On average, marital satisfaction starts high, declines during the first year, stabilizes, and then declines again at about the 8th year. When relationships end, communication problems are often cited as one of the causes. Unhappy couples tend to engage in negative affect reciprocity and exhibit a demand-withdraw interaction patterns. Negative affect reciprocity is a tit-for-tat exchange of negative feelings. One party says something mean, and the other party responds with something equally mean, and back and forth until the conflict spirals and is made worse. The demand-withdrawal interaction pattern occurs when one partner demands a resolution to the conflict, while the other partner withdraws from the situation. Social psychologists have found some evidence of gender differences, likely caused by socio-cultural factors. Women are more likely to be the ones demanding resolution, while men are more likely to withdraw. Of course, this isn't always the case. Social psychologists have identified a few strategies that couples can use to reduce the negative effects of conflict. One is to put yourself in their shoes and try to understand their point of view. 2 is to reward their desirable behaviors in other aspects of the relationship. Show appreciation for their contributions in other areas. And 3, make relationship-enhancing attributions that place more responsibility on your partner for their positive behaviors and less responsibility for their negative behaviors. When your partner brings a gift, it's because they are thoughtful. When they're late for dinner, it's because they ran into traffic. Distress-maintaining attributions place responsibility on your partner for their negative behaviors and interpret their positive behaviors in a negative light. When your partner brings a gift, it's because they're guilty of doing something bad. When they are late for dinner, it's because they are the most forgetful person. In the next lecture, we're going to switch gears and focus on a specific type of social behavior, helping. Why we help, when we help, and whom we help.